Hosting a school visit is easier than many dairy farmers expect. Although certain standards have to be met, many farmers will find that the procedures and facilities they already have in place on their farm can easily be adapted to cater for a class of children. One of the first points to consider is coach access.
Well, from a physical point of view, we knew that if we could get a milk tanker in and a feed delivery Arctic, we knew that we could get a coach in with children on it, so we knew that logistically we could handle big vehicles.
For the coach access, it's very important that we get the coach to drop the children as close as where we're going to start the visit. In other words, where we're going to explain to children about the safety and how they should behave. So we do make sure that the coach gets to as close as that building. And so when they disembark, they can't really run away, they can't go anywhere, they're just going to come straight to the area where we're going to explain actually how the day is going to progress.
Hygiene is a major factor when considering health and safety. It is important to think about your hand washing facilities and how they will fit in with the visit.
Although these diseases that potentially people can get from animals, Cryptosporidia, where they get a nasty bout of diarrhoea, although they've been around for years and years and years, they've become more high profile over the last sort of few years. So it's about trying to make sure that you have hand washing facilities, but make sure they're in your route and that you can build them into your route and that you're talking about it. But the kids are pretty good. If you say to them at the beginning of the day, we're going to wash our hands and we're not going to put our hands in our mouth, they'll pretty much go with that for the rest of the day, really.
Correct signage should be in place to warn of dangers and remind visitors of their responsibilities, but relying purely on signage is not the best way to reinforce important messages.
I assume that most children probably, if they can read, they're not going to bother reading. So actually having a sign which says do not touch or do not go in here is not very helpful. What you have to do is you have to have physical barriers. And you have to say, don't go beyond that barrier, or don't go beyond that gate, or don't go beyond that fence. That is the best way.
Nobody really reads signs, so you need to make sure the ones you have, they're clear and there's few of them. If you have an issue, there's no point sticking a sign up. It's about making sure the message is consistent and making sure they're bright and colourful and people see them.
Almost all visits will feature an outdoor element, so it is always important to consider the weather and have contingency plans. But rain doesn't mean the trip has to be cancelled or shortened.
We would hold our farm visits in any weather. The rain wouldn't stop us. We can go into the milking parlour, that's undercover, and they can see the milking parlour working. We'll walk to the cows, which will be close by. They might get a bit rained on then, but we'll walk straight back then to the calf sheds, which are undercover. The weather would not halt us at all.
Kids are fine with rain, no problem. Yeah. As long as you don't make a problem of something, they won't make a problem of it. As long as you're positive about something, they'll be positive. The problem is just at that very final point when you want to get them cleaned up and on the bus, then you've just got to have somewhere undercover in order to deal with it. I wouldn't recommend actually hosting lunches unless you do have somewhere undercover.
It's useful to have a base for the children to work from. This can range from a barn offering shelter and a place to store bags, through to purpose-built education rooms.
It's a great space because they've got somewhere to come back to, they feel comfortable in this space, they can all meet back up, and it's nice because when the three groups meet back up again, they're all chattering about what they've done that morning. It just makes the whole experience so much easier for us to manage because they're all in one place, we know they're all safe, the locked door's lockable, the teachers are relaxed, and they can have that time together at dinner time to sort of bond, and then they can go back out.
Risk assessments need to be carried out for each trip. A pre-trip visit by the class teacher is a good way to identify and assess any dangers to the children.
The teacher came a few nights ago to do his health and safety report. He had to do a risk assessment. So I was able to show him the route that we were walking, and he was more than happy with that.
To do the risk assessment for any visit, I think you need help, and we got help originally by joining CVAS, so it was through CVAS that we had some training to produce a risk assessment. Once we had done that, and then they had looked at it and made sure that we'd covered all the areas, then we just update it annually and also for each visit.
Supervision of the children and discipline may be a concern, but it is important to remember that it is the role of the class teacher to keep their students supervised and on task.
I make it very clear to the teachers when we have a visit that it's their responsibility to care for their children and make sure that they're not outside the bounds of where we are doing a visit. It's the responsibility of the teachers to maintain discipline, because my job is to present the information and the farm, not to discipline children that I don't know.
There are a number of things to think about before opening your farm for visits. When getting started, you do not need to invest in expensive solutions. Taking some simple steps at the start is the key to success.